Dear reader, the transport is a vital bloodstream of any society, of every country, and to the world globally. The functionality of the states is largely simplified thanks to the transport. That is the reason why the power holders at local, regional, and international level are aimed towards developing strategies and projects that will primarily maintain the transport infrastructure, but as well to projects that offer development of new projects, linking new places, increasing the communication, thereto taking into concern the environmental protection. At European level, the European Union, through the Directorate of Transport, allows the member states implementation of vital transportation projects according to the assessed framework. The states, in turn, that aspire for full membership, as in the case with the Republic of Macedonia, performing an approximation of the domestic legislation with the European Union, confirm its fundamental commitment for the implementation of the European politics in the transport sector. In what follows, we provide the readers through figure of comparative experiences of the countries of the European Union, with the emphasis on the regulation of the Union and that area and the obligations of the Republic of Macedonia, to gain a greater number of findings about the way on which the institutions that are in charge of the transport policy function. The aim of the authors is to get more examples of the policies of the European Union countries according to the established regulations, which already have developed an organized system, but also of the countries of the region and the development transport projects in the Republic of Macedonia. The efficiency is one of the goals of each working organization or company. It is determined by a number of objective and subjective factors. The human potential, the use of modern information trends and operations, resources, and management are part of the tools that help to achieve efficiency. In public institutions, the efficiency is a criterion with an equal meaning as in the private. In some cases, this criterion has greater significance, which itself is a reason for greater commitment. In this sense, the goal achievement of efficiency through the prism of meeting certain standards of technical, material, and other nature should be an essential objective in terms of the reform of the work of the Ministry of Transport and Communications of the Republic of Macedonia, in order to achieve the goal of timely, accurate, and impartial performance of duties arising from the given authorizations towards faster fulfillment of the given conditions for full membership of the Republic of Macedonia in the European Union and NATO. In addition to the book, we will show the role of the competent institutions of the Republic of Macedonia in the process of approximation of the legislation of the European Union by the method of analysis and the method of comparison, but also we will look at a manner of the organization and management in the European Union member states in the domestic legislation and in the countries that are candidates for membership. In what follows, according to the above mentioned, we will become familiar with the internal organization, objectives, and positioning of the sectors of the government in charge of the transport in the member states of European Union. The purpose of this book is to enable to receive more information for the functioning manner of these complex sectors in countries that have a level of development and organizational system which should be implemented in the Republic of Macedonia, of course taking into account all specificities derived from the system of organization and division of the power in the Republic of Macedonia. Harmonization of the legislation of the Republic of Macedonia with the European Union legislation regarding transport. The fulfillment of the obligations arising from the need for harmonization of the legislation of the Republic of Macedonia with that of the European Union, the institutions in the Republic of Macedonia coordinated through the Secretariat for European Affairs at the Government of the Republic of Macedonia, as well as through the sectors of the European Union within the relevant ministries which perform the coordination between the Secretariat for European Affairs in the Government of the Republic of Macedonia in accordance with the Stabilization and Association Agreement, the National Program for the Adoption of the EU Acquis, the obligations that are arising from the answers to the questionnaire of the European Commission, and the priorities which are determined in the Action Plan of the European Partnership. Further, they perform activities relating to the monitoring of the directives and regulations of the European Union under the authority of the Ministry, coordination and realization of projects from European Union programs in the field of transport, communications, aviation, urban planning, and construction. This sector aims to fulfill the tasks that refer to the support of the accession negotiations, planning, coordination, and monitoring of the implementation of the NPAA, implementation of the Stabilization and Association Agreement, of an electronic library of documents and acts related to NPAA, maintenance of NPAA collaborative environment, preparatory activities for installation of directives and regulations of the European Union in the area of jurisdiction of the Ministry, and in accordance with the Stabilization and Association Agreement, the national program for the adoption of the European Union acquis, obligations arising from the answers to the European Union questionnaire, and the priorities defined in the Action Plan for European Partnership. Transport chapters are precisely regulated and coordinated by the competent Ministry of Transport and Communications of the Republic of Macedonia. The sector of the European Union at the Ministry of Transport and Communications, which is competent and coordinates the matters that refer to project planning and coordination and implementation of the funds from the Instrumental for Pre-Accession Assistance, EU, IPA planning of priorities and needs arising from NPAA, programming of the Instrument for Pre-Accession Support, coordination of projects, preparation and their implementation, monitoring and evaluation. Comparative experiences of the Ministries of Transport whose countries are members of the European Union. In the continuation are transferred the comparative experiences of the operation manner of the Ministry of Transport in countries which are members of the European family, whereupon examples of countries that are part of the European Union with the last enlargement are included, and EU founding countries. The competences that they had and have, the projects that are current and which they govern will be especially shown, and the activities they undertake in the various programs that are available to the Republic of Macedonia will be shown as well, with emphasis on the continuing growth of traffic flow in Europe, which is the main concern of transport policy across Europe. Bulgaria. The Ministry of Transport of the Republic of Bulgaria is organized in directorates which support the Minister of Transport in the performance of his duties. They provide technical support for the Minister and pursue legal obligations in the providing of administrative services to the citizens and legal entities. The Ministry is competent for the areas of the road traffic, railway traffic, aviation, and maritime transport. The Ministry of Transport performs activities to support the Minister in relation to performance of the state policy and planning of the strategy for the development and reconstructuring of the transport, implementation of the state investment policy regarding transport, preparation of projects for international agreements and insurance of the implementation of the international agreements and conventions in the field of transport, organizations and performance of the preparation of the transport for operations during crisis, representation of Bulgaria in the most international transport organizations, distribution and control of the allocated resources for transport from the budget of the Republic of Bulgaria, control on the activities of recipients of licenses, permits, and certificates issued by the Minister or foreign persons authorized by him. As more interesting projects in which the Ministry of Transport is included and which are published on the Internet website are following. Announcement for giving a civil airport under concession for public use in the region Russe. Open call for logo and slogan of the operational program Transport 2007-2013, completed on January 10, 2008. The main objective of the program is integration of the Bulgarian transport system in the transport network of the European Union and in general development of the system. Campaign School for All Children. The Ministry of Transport, together with other side institutions, is a supporter of this campaign to raise funds for the construction of access ramps, paths, etc. for disabled children. Greece. The mission of the Ministry of Transport and Communications of Greece is to plan and implement the national policy and to create appropriate institutional framework at European and international level for the development of transport from the highest level, mass transit, telecommunications, and postal services, and the promotion of information society. Also, the Ministry covers the areas of road traffic, air traffic, water traffic, telecommunications, and post offices. Within the Ministry there is a Directorate for Passengers Transport, which consists of two departments for urban transport, which is responsible for all issues related to the urban transport at metros, buses, trolleybuses, trams, and other forms of urban transport within the regions of the country, as well as for the issues related to the public transport vehicles as taxis, and intercity transport in charge of issues related to the transportation of passengers in accordance with the Decree 346/2001, in which the regulations 96/26 and 98/76 are transposed, as well as the operation with the transport objects. The Ministry publishes on the website the regular bus, railway, and airway lines to the neighboring and the countries of the European Union that are currently valid. The National Commission for Telecommunications and Posts is responsible for the areas telecommunications and posts. As one of the duties of the Commission is providing information for the customers for the choice they have in relation to the communication services. In direction to this, in November 2002, a special customer service department is established where the customers can submit their comments and observations related to the functioning of the telecommunications market. The Commission constantly informs the public about the choices offered to them in terms of the telecommunication services through print matter, flyers, brochures, and so forth. The Ministry of Transport and Communications of the Republic of Greece also constantly conducts a campaigning to inform persons with disabilities about transportation issues. On a special link on the website, there is information about these people. It can be found out in which buses the disabled person can find some seats specially marked for them. In the railway transport, it is decided to give them priority in serving. They receive rebates when buying tickets. Also, in the telecommunications, they are accommodated through access to telephone devices for people with hearing problems, special telephone seats for people with hearing problems, gratis impulses per month for people with impaired vision, for which is provided free calls information, then a discount for internet access for people with a higher percentage of disability, installation of teletext in public areas for information of the people with hearing problems. 20 such devices are already placed in the new airport in Athens, and so on. Slovenia. The Ministry of Transport is responsible for activities related to preparation, monitoring, and implementation of transport policy and relevant national programs, international cooperations, and harmonization of the national interests in the field of transport, railway, maritime and air transport, transport of inland navigable waterway, safety for the objects intended for navigation in continental water, cargo transfer services, roads and road traffic, except the control and regulation of the vehicles in road traffic and towing cars. The ministry is organized in directorates: Directorate of Transport, Directorate of International Relations, Roads Directorate, Railways Directorate, Directorate for Maritime Traffic, and Civil Aviation Directorate, which perform duties that belong within the competence of the ministry. On the website of the Ministry of Transport of Slovenia is the program in the field of transport for the period of the Slovenian presidency with the European Union, with all envisaged aims and activities of this period. As program priorities for the Transport Directorate are the adoption of the resolution on the transport policy of the Republic of Slovenia, the resolution on the National Program for Road Traffic Safety, participation in the drawing up European Union legislative proposals for relevant fields, and other regular duties. Roads Directorate, besides the regular duties as program priorities, has the assessment of the possibility of private capital usage and other off-budget resources as an additional source for faster development of the road infrastructure and for more effective resolution of the needs of road users, and the development of the operational management service of traffic for all national roads and organization of integrated information from one location for the natural road users, Traffic Management Center and Transport Information Center. Railways and Cableways Directorate has the adoption of a national development program for public railway infrastructure and constant modernization of the rail corridors V and X as most important priority. Directorate Airlines, as the most important priorities, has the resolving of the properly law relations with the Airport Ljubljana and Airport Slovenia, the public enterprise air traffic control, and other enterprises that are users of the real property owned by the Republic of Slovenia, and the development of air transportation easy to use for people with reduced mobility. The ministry publishes timetables for bus, railway, and airlines, and on the website advertisements for employment in the institutions under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Transport and its offices are published. Romania. The Ministry of Transport in Romania, as its competences, has the issue in transport fields, free zones, and European Union integrations. The Ministry has prepared several strategies associated with the areas that cover, including strategy for development of the railway system in Romania, strategy for development of the National Road Program, strategy for national road rehabilitation, strategy for development, modernization, and economic financial reconstructuring of metrox, development strategy for navigation, development strategy for civil aviation, development strategy for road transport, strategy for rehabilitation of municipal road infrastructure, strategy for equipment and rehabilitation of a water system in rural areas, strategy for sustainable development of the national territory, organization, and urbanism, strategy for earthquake consequences prevention and insurance of constructed buildings, privatization strategy of the Ministry. Besides the strategies, the Ministry has investment projects relating to the following areas. Road transport includes sections of the highway, national roads and bridges, railway transport, air transport, maritime transport, Danube transport and inland waterway transport, free zones, urban underground transport, water supply and sanitation in rural areas, construction of housing buildings. Germany. The Ministry covers the areas of transport, building, and urban affairs. On the website of the Ministry, there is a special link to the history of the Ministry and for the building in which it is located, as well as all renovations that are done to it. The Ministry gives a possibility to all interested citizens to search for any information they need at the info services of the Ministry by sending a message from the website of the Ministry. Likewise, visits of the Ministry are organized for all interested citizens who want to learn more about the modus operandi of the Ministry authorities. The Ministry has several programs in the covered areas. One of them is the Traffic Control Program of the Federal Roads. To implement this program and to achieve the objectives of it continuously are active several systems. Active systems for traffic management. These systems automatically set the speed limit on certain sections. There are also reports of some delays in traffic, reduced visibility, and weather conditions. These systems reduce the accidents by 30%. Strategic systems for traffic management. These systems redirect the traffic by signs towards alternative, less blocked roads. Control systems of the roadway of highway intersections. These systems on the places ensure that the traffic flows run smoothly. Another activity to enhance the traffic security is through introduction of the e-call. Through the introduction of the emergency call that is triggered by the opening of the airbag in a car accident, the signal is transmitted by satellite, whereupon information is received to know where the signal is transmitted from. This call uses the emergency number 112. So far, this option has been charged and it was present only in the cars of the upper class. In May 2004, a Memorandum of Understanding on the realization of the interoperability e-number has been submitted to the European Commission. So far, it has been signed by Germany, Austria, Finland, Sweden, Slovenia, Lithuania, Italy, Greece, Cyprus, Switzerland, Norway, and Iceland, and by the European manufacturers. Another program in the area of spatial organizing program is the Program for Regional Development and Demographics. With the regional planning policy, the government tries to create equal social conditions in all regions of the state. The task is closely related to the Constitution and must be complied with the changes on which the society is subjected to. This policy has developed strategies for managing with the different developments of the region in relation to the spatial proximity. The objectives for the regional development are more focused on the conditions for generating development than of its distribution. The goal of parity for social security must be interpreted in this context and structured by means of corresponding approaches for regional development policy, and the different regional conditions must be taken into account, as well as the different functions of the region. The final program of the sectors that this ministry covers is the Urban Affairs and Housing Program. is a result of the demographic development and migration. Free residences that have arisen on many locations represent one of the biggest challenges for the urban development policy. This question the ministry manages through program for an urban reconstructuring in the new federal states, to which urban reconstructuring in the old federal states was added. Destruction of excess buildings for housing and simultaneously the rehabilitation of the cities are promoted, because the cities are the center of job creation, development, and investments. For this purpose, the funds for urban development go in a package with other assistance programs. Housing, labor, and social policy are combined to improve the situation in urban areas which face special problems. To strengthen the construction policy in Germany, a series of measures are implemented. Initiative for building and architecture culture. Measures implemented in construction activities of the government. Government establishment of the project for construction culture. Other various measures for promotion of the construction culture on national level and for improvement of the conditions. The Ministry awards annually prizes for construction activities. Such are the rewards for the best newly reconstructed bridge. The winners receive a plaque that is placed on the bridge. The Ministry constantly organizes projects for construction of certain buildings of public interest, bridges, crossover, etc., through publishing open calls for construction. Austria. In Austria, the ministry that deals with the issue of transport and communications has the name Federal Ministry for Transport, Innovation and Technology. This department is divided into Sector 1, Executive Committee and Coordination Area and European Works, Sector 2, Roads and Aviation, Road Group, Aviation Group, Sector 3, Innovation and Telecommunication and Post Area, Innovation Area. Sector 4, Railway, Water Transport, Work Inspectorate of Transport, Group of Labor Inspectorate of Transport, Railway Group. Transport policy. In 2001-2002, in terms of combining all modes of transport under one head, a master plan for transportation was made, which comprises the roads, railways, and inland waterways. It includes specific plans of the transport policy of Austria with a basic purpose to cope with the growing demand for transport infrastructure and services. This plan will also help in the creation of regional structures. According to the prices in 2002, the total capital spent on the plan was set at 45 million euros. About a third of this amount is spent on roads and about two-thirds on railways. In this context, of particular importance for the railways is the development of the axis of Danube, including the route Vienna-Bratislava, the axis Pontebana-Essenyus-Südbahn, plus the transplain route Brenner through the base tunnel of Brenner. Top priority for the road transport will be given to the motorways and the express roads to the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, and the regional ring around Vienna, plus for reasons of road safety on the construction of the second excavation of the highway Donau Tunnel. Special emphasis to all these roads will be given on the environmental protection. The plan is funded for highways and express roads, with stickers for cars and tolls on certain sections, plus an electronic toll system for heavy commercial vehicles, which use the main road network, while the responsibility for the secondary union roads is transferred to the federal states. The costs are balanced using a system of financial alignment. The railway projects are financed by loans guaranteed by the federal government. The projects within the Master Plan of Transport are executed in accordance with the program of construction of Austrian operator of motorway network with the toll collection and the framework plan for the railways. A compromise was reached for the development of the Danube connection between Vienna and Hainburg for the needs for transport by inland waterways, taking into account the considerations in relation with the environmental protection. The costs will be from the budget. In terms of the infrastructure, the mode of transport is a matter of choice. These choices are not made solely on the basis of which infrastructure is available. The selection is done based mainly on two factors. On the one hand, the quality infrastructure and transport efficiency, and the price on the other hand. According to this, the decisive factor will therefore be provided transportation services as an integrated package, and these days the transport parameters are determined primarily at the European Union level. From the first start, the Austrian transport policy is in function in order to guarantee a balanced market conditions for all modes of transport, on the principle of internalization of the external costs. On this idea, the majority of the European Union member states continue to oppose. Through the great number of additional measures at national level, such as measures to promote the connection of railways and various forms of combined transport, on the opposite to the European trend, it was possible to keep the proportion of the total freight transported by railway on the comfortable high level of about 35%, several times higher than the average of the European Union. In the context of the new criteria of the European Union for the transport market, the Austrian Federal Railways are radically reconstructed. The company is divided into two separate parts, one responsible for infrastructure and the other for sale, under the control of a holding company, and it will stop the trend of constant increasing of government subsidies to the railway sectors. This move not only paved the way towards transparency and fair competition in the rail transport, something that will give full impetus for this mode of transport which is better for the environment, but it is also a first step towards the reform of the local public transport which is ongoing. This reform, creating improved quality, better service for the customers and more efficient use of resources, will stop the trend of increasing costs and declining passenger numbers, which will allow local and regional public transport to continue to have its important regional and social role also in the future. The Austrian transport policy successfully compensated for many of the missed opportunities in the past and actively opposes to the challenges of the 21st century. The road and railway network are expanded and their quality is appreciably improved. Austria is a European leader in terms of the division of the manners, in terms of the proportion of the modes of transport that are socially good and useful for the environment. The innovative technologies will soon bring improvements in the public transport to thus in the volume of the traffic with private cars. Marco Polo program. Taking into consideration the constant increase of the traffic flow in Europe, the main concern of the transport policy across Europe is that the road transport should be transferred to the modes of transport that are better for the environment as railway transport, sea freight services on short routes, and internal transport on waterways. The current White Paper of the European Union proposes appropriate measures in accordance to it. One of those measures is a European Union program known as Marco Polo II, period 2007-2013. The objectives of Marco Polo II: reducing of the roads congestion, improvement of the environmental performance of the freight transport system, increasing the intermodality, the performance of transport operations using more than one transport mode, organization of the traffic flow. Marco Polo II is designed for companies that wish to switch and to increase the traffic from the roads to the railways and or delivery within the European Union. Marco Polo II is a commercially oriented financial instrument that can develop quickly. From January 1, 2007, operators may submit to the European Commission proposals to transfer the modes of transport, and if they are approved in the election procedure that is made by the officials of the Commission, they receive funds to start the transport of freight transport services where transport by railway or waterways is used. Thus, the initial risk of a project to switch to transport mode and provided with the financial assistance, which is limited in its amount 30 to 50% maximum, and it is time 2 to 4 years. Trans-European Network. During the period 1995-2005, the European Commission has already given Austria financial aid totaling 200 million euros out of the European budget for transport projects relating to the trans-European networks. Funding to date has largely been for railway projects. Most of the aid to railway development has been for the Brenner and Danube axis. This is also a reflection of the great importance which the European Union attaches to these rail routes. In addition to railway funding, Austria has also so far received assistance from the European Commission for projects relating to inland waterways, roads, aviation, and transport management. General guidelines for Community Trans-European Transport Network were revised in April 2004. After negotiations for new general guidelines, Austria ensured participation in 10 projects, including 6 major axes of the new list of 10 priority axes and projects. Under the previous priority projects list of fall, Austria was included in only one axis, Brenner axis. The adoption of the new TENT guidelines and new general list of priorities in April 2004 thus represents a marked improvement of the position of Austria in terms of Trans-European network compared with the legal position. Trans-European Railway Project. The Trans-European Railway Project of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe seeks to develop a coherent and efficient network of rail and combined transport. In spatial terms, it is concerned chiefly with the networks of Central and Eastern Europe and their links to Western and Southern Europe. It is thus highly important to Austria. Origin. The initiative for a cooperation agreement on the Trans-European Railway Project was taken by the UNECE in 1988. On 1 January 1993, the TER Trust Fund was formed. This fund finances the work of administration and organization needed to implement the TER project. The following states are members: Austria, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Georgia, Greece, Hungary, Italy, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, Russian Federation, Slovak Republic, Slovenia, and Turkey. Countries in the process of becoming members are Switzerland, Azerbaijan, and Armenia. Ukraine is the observer country. Aim of the project. The aim of the project is to develop a coherent and efficient network of rail and combined transport in the countries of Central and Eastern Europe and to link this to Western and Southern Europe. Networks will in the medium term be made compliant with the standards of the European Agreement of Main International Railway Lines. The European Union's trans-European networks are based partly on the TER corridors, and various European Union statements make express reference to TER. In cooperation with the European Union, TER, like its sister project for motorways, is working on a master plan for infrastructure in the member countries. By analogy with the trans-European networks, the aim is to build a subordinary network based on TER standards, connecting to the more secondary network and closing existing gaps. In the common TER database, member countries exchange information on their rail networks and companies. Access to the database is free of charge for members' country authorities. Private individuals may also access it on paying of a fee. Significance of TER for the transport in Austria. TER is consistent with the principles of Austria's transport policy, the promotion of combined transport and the switching of transport from road to rail. TER is consistent with the resolutions of the Conference of Ministers of Transport of Central European countries, which call transport infrastructure to be developed and harmonized with a particular eye to environmentally friendly modes of transport. Because of its geographical position, Austria acts as a bridge between Western and Eastern Europe in terms of transport infrastructure compatibility and interoperability, since TER members include not only European member states and non-European members, but also Eastern European countries which use broad gauge track. The priorities of TER are also important to Austria, since Austria's infrastructure interests lie chiefly on Central and Eastern Europe. United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, Agreement of Main International Railway Lines. The creation of a homogeneous and interoperable European railway system is an important requirement of the railways and are to compete with the other transport modes, road haulage in particular. To the end, the European Agreement on Main International Railway Lines defines a network of railway lines of major international importance, together with the parameters for infrastructure on these routes. The AGC is intended and the basis for coordinated governmental action in development of the European rail network. The AGC was drawn up under the aegis of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. It came into force on 27 April 1987. Its objective is the creation of a homogeneous and interoperable European rail network. 24 European states are contracting parties to the agreement. Belgium has begun the ratification process. Portugal has signed the agreement but not yet ratified it. Austria acceded as a full member in 2002. The agreement comprises the main body of the Agreement Plus, definition of a network of railway lines of major international importance, definition of infrastructure parameters. Annex 2 lays down inter alia nominal minimum speed for these AG lines as follows. Existing lines and lines to be improved or reconstructed, 160 km per hour. New lines, 300 km on lines for passenger traffic only, 250 km for passenger and goods traffic. The Yellow Book is an inventory published by UNECSI of existing AGC routes and the standards and parameters relating to them. UNECI's main working party on rail transport meets once a year in Geneva, among other things to complete the ongoing work of updating the agreement. Implementation in Austria. Even before Austria signed up to the agreement, the AGC parameters were already observed during the construction of new rail lines in Austria and modernization of existing ones. On signing the AGC, however, Austria issued a statement to the effect that because of the country's difficult topography, mountainous regions, compliance with the parameters, particularly with regard to speed, could not be guaranteed in every case. Austria's accession to the AGC was approved by the National Council at its 6th July 2001 sitting. The original English language text of the agreement together with a German translation was published in the Federal Law Gazette. The Netherlands. The Ministry of Transport, Public Works and Water Management is one of the 13 ministries which make up the national government. The ministry consists of the policy departments and executive departments, as well as the Directorate General for Public Works and Water Management, the Transport, Public Works and Water Management Inspectorate, and the Royal Netherlands Meteorological Institute. The main goal of WNW is to protect Netherlands from water and to ensure safe connections of international quality. Accordingly, the ministry has its mission: reliable with the water, progressive with the connections. Investment in construction and maintenance. Roads. The Ministry of Transport, Public Works and Water Management had determined in the budget an additional 6 million euros for now until the end of 2010 for the management and maintenance of the roads. The maintenance works will provide a better asphalt and renovation of the old. The additional funds are also allocated for the expansion of roads and construction of new roads. The key objective is to construct safe and efficient road network. The detailed plans of the Ministry of the Netherlands roads through the next few decades are described in the policy document for mobility. Railways. The number of passengers and goods transported by railway in the Netherlands will increase in the coming years. In order to facilitate this growth, the reliability and capacity of the existing railway network should be increased. This requires construction of new rail lines and maintenance of the existing ones. The accuracy is also important. The aim is to ensure timely arrival and departure of at least 87% of the trains. Considerable effort is given into the passenger line with high speed. The investments of the national government in the line will provide better international connections of Western Holland to the other urban areas in Europe. From June 16, 2007, the government uses Betover route for freight transport. Waterways. The quality of the waterways in the Netherlands is of a particular importance in regard to the proper functioning of the internal navigation. The Ministry of Transport, Public Works and Water Management is responsible for the national waterways. The transport of goods by waterways is increased. Also, the question about the maintenance of the waterways is open, and the additional funds have been allocated for this purpose. Regional transport on short distances. The term light rail covers a variety of public rail transport concepts. Common to these concepts is that they include a regional transport on the distance from 10 to 40 kilometers. There are several different types of light rail vehicles, but in terms of the size, they are between trams and heavy trains. The provincial or former regional authorities usually undertake the initiative in relation to the light railway. The Ministry of Transport, Public Works and Water Management will be involved only if the main lines are used. The Ministry is responsible for the management and security of the railway infrastructure. Also, the Ministry provides funding for the construction of the light railway lines. The realization of the constructional works on the Netherlands roads was performed in 2006 and 2007. The quality of the roads and infrastructure will be improved in the next 2 years. This will include maintenance of the existing roads, bridges, as well as expansion of the roads and construction of new roads. These activities will be realized in almost all Dutch provinces. One change in the near future that introduces the Ministry is in relation to the price for the road's usage. Driving costs money. Not only is paid for fuel, insurance, and for the car itself, but also for the owning of the car in the form of taxes on sales and on roads. These funds contribute to the revenues, which in turn are spent on construction and maintenance of the Dutch roads. In the near future, the ownership will not be paid, but the usage of the car. The Dutch motor vehicle tax and the Dutch tax sales costs to apply and instead of them. They will pay a tariff per driven kilometer. Those who drive less will pay less. Those who drive more will pay more. Vehicles that pollute more will pay more taxes than others. The money collected will be used for construction, management, and maintenance of roads and bridges, because the basic premise is the infrastructure costs money. The prices for roads usage are not an aim by themselves. They distribute prices for the roads on different and impartial basis between the road users. Also, the prices for the road usage are relating to the availability and sustainability. Something must be done to improve the flow of the Dutch traffic. System in which a little more will be paid, especially in the hours of traffic jam, will lead to more intelligent usage of the road capacity. The difference in the tariffs by the environmental characteristics of the vehicle will promote that the car users should buy and drive more eco-friendly vehicles. Compared with the existing system, some will have to pay more, some less. Accordingly, the prices will not generate more revenue for the government. Therefore, the whole operation is deliberately titled Different Ways of Mobility Payments. The implementation was envisaged for 2011. Research Program. A research was conducted in the preparations for the future implementation throughout the state territory for the compensation based on the driven kilometer. The results identify and formulate better the requirement specifications. As it was confirmed by the survey for the cost for mobile communication in the Dutch system for determining prices of the roads, the costs for mobile communication are still significant. In this research, possibilities for several other means of communication are examined, including with the organization needed for future successful implementation. 4 parties are invited to submit a proposal at the beginning of December. The result of the research are expected in April 2008. Trusted Elements and will use OBU equipment for registration of the road's usage. Through the wireless communication, the data from OBU will be sent to the office and vice versa. Because this data form a basis from collection and application, a reliable and legal system for transmission and reception of data should be created. The research is focused on trusted elements and public key infrastructure, for which it is examined whether they are the appropriate means for receiving on the desired results, and if so, how it could be previously organized. As it is stated in the decision taken in November 2007 by the Dutch Cabinet, the implementation of KPM will begin in 2011. Throughout 2007, the Ministry had explored the opportunities for earlier gradually introducing of the parts from the KMP system. Several variations in the implementation were investigated, including the equipment of all vehicles with DSRC, with the purpose to introduce the KMP on a part of the Dutch road network as a possible first stage. From this research, a list of practical issues derived that should be answered by the potential suppliers of DSRC. TRL was conducted this research, which mainly focused on the following question: which is the real production period of the amount of needed DSRC for KMP under with preconditions, and what are the main risks? The possible DSRC suppliers were invited to collaborate on this research by providing the relevant information for their available DSRC, as well as allowance for TEL to visit their production capacities. The uncertainties in the final requirements for the KMP system have led to a series of assumptions in this research. The most relevant uncertainties in the requirements are listed. Based on these assumptions, it was concluded that the required production for the Dutch KMP is possible, under the condition to choose DSRC which are already commercially feasible. To wait for the future DSRC to meet the requirements of the KMP scheme is a big risk. The automatic number plate recognition can be used for payment for the use of roads. The performance of ANPR systems is rapidly advancing. However, the operational specifications for which local authorities and suppliers report vary between 74 and 98% of recognition for all passing vehicles. Therefore, it was required that the TNO research conducts very fast scan to obtain a realistic and independent data on the accuracy and the percentage of the exact observed numbers of plates. In this direction, the different purposes of the ANPR systems were explored, and they were compared to the purpose of KPM. Implementation is suggested by the implication of estimates of costs and risk associated with these differences, as well as the required recognition and failure rate. Adequate and reliable regime is essential by the use of the different types of application for the successful realization of the charging system within the national frameworks based on distances. The transferable and mobile means for application have an important role in the concept of application of the Dutch system for the charging of the roads. Since there is not much experience in this regard, the Ministry of Transport, Public Works and Water Management decided to issue a request for information in relation to the technical capacity of the transferable and mobile equipment. The deadline for registration expired on July 12, 2007. Since then, 8 suppliers are invited for giving workshops and technical demonstrations. The results of AIR are now available. A reliable and accurate measurement system of the use of the roads is essential for successful realization of the collection based on distance. To obtain a special knowledge and insight in the reliability and accuracy of the system, 3 independent expert research institutions were invited to submit proposals for conducting a research on behalf of the Ministry. These 3 institutions are Transport Research Lab. According to the objective procedure for the task assignation, Transport Research Lab were selected. A testing of the equipment delivered by several suppliers was conducted in the summer of 2007. The tests were conducted on the same track in the Western Netherlands using 3 equipped vehicles with GPS as a reference. The mobile communications of data proved to be an important indicator in the costs of the system for determining prices for the roads. This research is aimed at providing insight into the cost for mobile data communications and future trends. The research was conducted by M&I. The results are used to verify the comparative cost criteria published after the market consultation in 2006 and for the future studies for expenses and scenarios. The market for mobile data communication is still dynamic and competitive. Therefore, it can be expected a cost reducing. However, the cost for communication will continue to be a significant factor. It is recommended not to neglect the possible alternatives such as Wi-Fi or DSRC. Within the scheme for price determining, an allowance will be charged based on the total traveled distance, together with other factors such as time, location, and the characteristics of the vehicle. The distributors of OBU use different technologies to determine the total travel distance. These technologies are often based on the comparison with the digital maps in OBU. The aim of this research project is to determine if the travel distance can be precisely used without a detailed mapping. Often, the regular updating of the digital maps in OBU requires more costs. Because of these reasons, the survey is conducted on alternative technologies to calculate the distance. 3 algorithms, simple calculation, simple filter, and more sophisticated algorithms were used in this study to generate values for distance without the use of maps. This research is based on data put at disposal by the Transport for London. 3 different calculations are compared with the original distances calculated by OBU. The data are derived from the relatively short trips in the London area, as it can be expected in the Netherlands. It was concluded that the simple algorithm works well under the condition that the data from the GPS source are for good quality. Filter algorithm succeeds in reducing the noise and improves the quality of the data. Good results were achieved with a sophisticated algorithm, where it was achieved to correct the missing data. However, in exceptional cases, it was inappropriate. Further finish would be a solution for 3 cases. Sweden. The Ministry of Entrepreneurship, Energy and Communications is responsible for managing the activities of the government in the following areas: business development, issues related to the business development, small and medium-sized companies, the purchase of capital, entrepreneurship, simplification of the rules, issues related to patents and innovation, comparative enterprises, and general conditions for the enterprise's growth. Competition, issues concerning competition, freedom of trade, and certain issues relating to the business law and EC rules on state aid to the business sector. Electronic communications, issues relating to electronic communications. Energy, security of supply, reliable power transmission, renewable energy, aeolian energy, certificates for electricity and improved energy efficiency. IT infrastructure and responsibility for coordination of issues related to the use of information technology. Post communications and treasury services. Issues related to postal communications and treasury services. Primary industries. Forestry industry and other primary energy industries. Manufacturing industries of vehicles, together with their producers and recycling. Regional growth. Regional policy issues, including the regional areas for assistance, support for enterprises, and coordination of regional policy in different social sectors. Programs for regional growth, geographic and national programs, 1 and 2, and initiatives of the community Interreg, urban and leader, plus European spatial development perspective. R&D, research and development in technology, space exploration, energy, transport and communications, and techniques for testing and measurement. State-owned enterprises, managing with enterprises that are fully or partially owned by the state. Tourism, tourism policy, international tourism marketing. Transport, issues relating to the transport of passengers and goods, roads, air traffic, naval traffic, railways in the country, and transport between Sweden and other countries. Terms of competition for the Swedish transport companies, the infrastructure of roads and railways, international coordination on issues related to the EU Trans-European Transport Network. Political objective. The overall objective of the transport policy is to ensure that citizens and activities in all parts of the country are provided with transport which is sufficient in terms of the economy as a whole and sustainable over long term. The overall objective of the transport policy is divided into 6 sub-objectives: available transport system, high-quality transport standards, safe transport, good environment, advantageous regional development, transport system that is managed and which equally serves the interests of man and woman. Long term, all 6 sub-objectives must be achieved. However, in short term, it may be necessary to prioritize between the sub-objectives. Ireland. The department is responsible for implementing an integrated transport policy. Through an integrated approach, the department will develop and implement policies designed to improve regional balance and reduce rural isolation and social exclusion. Transport 21 provides 34 billion euros investment in the development of an integrated transport network over the period 2006 to 2015. Specific responsibilities in relation to national roads and road transport include implementation of the Program for National Roads as part of the National Development Plan, implementing the government strategy for road safety and the appropriate policy to regulate standards for vehicles, licensing of roads transport, and testing drivers. The Department for Investigation of Aviation Accidents is part of the Department for Transport and is responsible for the investigation of aircraft accidents and serious incidents in Ireland, in some cases with Ireland registries airplane abroad. The Chief Inspector of Investigation submits a report to the Minister of Transport. The Department for Investigation of Aviation Accidents conducts investigation into aircraft accidents and serious incidents in accordance with Annex 13 to the Convention of the International Aviation Organization. Directives 94/56 EC of the European Council and the Statutory Instrument No. 205 from 1997. The fundamental goal of such research is to determine the conditions and causes of such events in terms of saving lives and avoiding similar incidents in the future. The apportion of blame is liability is not a goal of this research. Reports are published on the website. Reports published on the page contain facts about the observed incidents. This information are published to inform the airline industry and the public on the terms of these accidents and incidents. The contents of these reports may be subject to change or in correction of this is new information available. The insurance of all reports on the website on the Department for Investigation of Aviation Accidents is just their policy and occurs immediately after finishing each individual report. Also, a version of the brochure is regularly issued and printed. Excerpts of these reports may be published without any license only if the source is properly specified. The United Kingdom. The role of the Department of Transport is to determine the overall transport strategy and to manage relationships with agencies responsible for delivery of this version. This sector has information on how the sector is structured, the responsibilities of different regional agencies, and different objectives set by the government. The department was established to provide a focus on delivering the government's transport strategy. The role of the center of the department is to set a strategy and manage the relationships with the organizations responsible for delivery. The board of the department is configured to provide support. Members of the board include the general manager of the Group of Rail and National Network, Group of Urban and International Network, Incorporated Sources, Group of Security, Service Delivery and Logistics. Poland. The Ministry of Infrastructure of Poland covers the areas of transport and telecommunications. The ministry consists of several departments covering different areas of operation, as follows. Department for Strategic Planning and Transport Policy. The department is responsible for formation of the strategy of the country in terms of the infrastructure development and formulation and coordination of the transport policy. Also, the department performs the tasks related to the European Strategy for Infrastructure Development and participation in the strategies of the European Union in terms of infrastructure, programming of land transport, and drawing conclusions connected to projects related to transportation of inland waters and post-infrastructure. Legal Department. The tasks of this sector are covering the execution of issues related to the legal service of the Minister, the Director General, and the Ministry and the legislative activity of the Ministry. Control Department. The tasks of the department are control of the activities of organizational units in terms of legality, economy, and efficiency, cooperation with the bodies of internal control, and coordination of the review of complaints and applications. Budget and Finance Department. The tasks of the sector covers the coordination of the basic questions of the government's economic policy, economic financial elements, economic financial cooperation with other countries, as well as the implementation of the budget managed by the Minister. International Cooperation Department. The tasks of the department are concerning the initiation, coordination, and supervision of the decision-making process in the European Union. Department of Defense issues. The tasks relating to the activities within the integrations where the country is a member. Department of Railways. It is responsible for the regulation in the Railways Department and development programs. Air Transport Department. It is responsible for the regulation in the Air Traffic Department and development programs for this type of transport. Telecommunications Department. It is responsible for performing tasks of the Government Act of Telecommunications and government programs for telecommunications. Post Office Department. Development of program for post office activity and market supervision. Structural Funds Department. Includes management of funds relating to roads and transport policy and monitoring of the use of the funds from these funds. Cohesion Funds Department. The sector manages the financial assistance from the cohesion funds intended for development of the transport infrastructure. This includes the forward of applications for these funds to the European Commission. Department of Roads and Road Infrastructure. The tasks of the sector covers the implementation of the activities related to road transport, traffic safety, and conditions for the road transport process. Department of Investment and Economic Analysis. The tasks of the department cover the execution of tasks related to the implementation of the investments, proposing of programs which relate to investing, conducting of economic and financial analysis. Department of Government Program for the construction of roads and highways. The sector is focused on performance of the issues related to government programs for construction of the national roads, including the preparation and amendment of long-term programs, taking measures to secure project financing from these programs. Also, the department is associated with the tasks relating fees for the use of roads, projects for public-private partnership. Comparative experiences of the organization manner of the Ministries of Transport in the candidate countries for European Union membership. Turkey. The Ministry of Transport in Turkey, a candidate country for European Union membership, covers the following sectors: road sector, railway sector, aviation sector, maritime sector, communication sector. Several years ago, the road transport sector of the Ministry of Transport of Turkey got its own legislation through the enactment of the Law number 4925, which came into force on July 19, 2003. Within the improvement of the transport sector, all workers in the transport sector need to have European Union certificates of competence. Namely, the three criteria of the European Union professional reputation, professional compatibility, and financial efficiency are regulated by the Regulation on Road Transport. The criterion for professional compatibility is regulated by special regulation. Currently, 7 educational institutions have received Education Institutional Certificate of Professional Compatibility, 2 of which are universities and other 5 are sectoral organizations. Also, all activities related to the road transport will be coordinated with the computer system by the implementation of an automated system for road transport. In terms of the rail transport of goods, the Ministry of Transport of Turkey has taken several important measures to promote this kind of transport. In 2003, the administration for block trains began working, whose implementation allows transport of goods without waiting between the departure and arrival. Logistics villages are introduced to help the integrated transport at several locations across the country. To build rail lines to the large production capacities, the method of transporting of the trucks by rail is introduced, by which it is contributed to less damage on highways and reduce the pollution of the environment. The aviation sector is also reformed. In line with the objective of approximation of the airport fees and private communication tax with many private companies involved in the aviation business, and decrease competition and quality of service. The ministry is involved in the project SMART, systematic modernization of possibility of using of this form of transport. Prices of air tickets are reduced, as well the air traffic management resources, to enable the airspace of Turkey and other countries to be controlled by a computer center. The maritime sector, as the most important activities in the past few years, had the staff training in this area, increased security at the highest level, and a system for automatic definition is introduced for the monitoring of all ships. Actions are undertaken in order to improve the communication sector in the country, to introduce Internet in all schools across the country. Internet access in all places in the country are introduced, and the process of introducing of all universal service had begun. In the postal services sector, a modernization of postal branches is made, and a system of electronic calls for reducing of the queues and crowds at post offices is introduced. As more significant projects underway and which are implemented are Mary project, which refers to the construction of more traffic lanes, tunnels, overpasses, etc., that can improve the traffic in Istanbul. The renovation of the old railways lines in some parts of the country as an activity for the achievement of the plan for the lines on which high-speed traffic will be made, and promotion of this kind of rail transport. Within these projects happens cooperation with the municipalities of the reconstruction of the lines. It is planned and expected to achieve an increased speed of trains with the reconstruction from 55 to 100 km per hour. Intense and quick activities began to renovate and modernize the airports. Activities are undertaken in order to modernize and expand the airport terminals and other services in the airport, with an aim to offer airport services after the highest world standards. Croatia. The Ministry of Maritime Transport and Infrastructure in Croatia covers the areas of the sea and maritime transport, road, rail, air traffic, and the area of telecommunications and posts. The ministry is organized in districts that are in management of the areas under the jurisdiction of the ministry. The Department of Road Transport is responsible for all activities relating to the roads and the traffic on them, and precisely on highways, state roads, municipality roads, and local roads. The department manages the granting of permits for the transport of goods in the international road traffic. In this area, there is a developed market analysis for road transport in the Republic of Croatia, which is made by the Faculty of Traffic in Zagreb, and which, among other things, include the analysis of the transport shares of trucks, vehicles, and couriers, costs, international permits, and so forth. The government of the Republic of Croatia has enacted 2 national road safety programs, which are made for a period of 5 years. In the area of the rail trade, in order to promote the use of this type of transport, the administration is responsible for the rail traffic in every major holiday or event in Croatia, to publish a commercial call announcement for using this kind of transport on cheaper prices, and provides discounts for traveling by train during the Christmas holidays, the 8th of March, traveling to places during organization of some cultural events, and so on. The Director for Inland Sailing is responsible for regulation in the field of traffic on the river roads, and gives overview of all navigable paths, and for the competent institutions, captaincy, which are responsible for this kind of traffic and transport. The Air of Traffic Department is responsible for regulation in the air traffic fields, as well about all issues related to traveling with this kind of traffic. In this direction, the department publishes all news in relation to introducing some new regulations relating to air travel, such as the allowed amount of luggage, allowed amount of fluids in air transport, and so forth. Also, valid reviews of flights and a list of air carriers are published. The Department of Telecommunications is responsible for all activities aimed at improving the electronic communications market. The latest and most actual activity of this department is the strategy to introduce broadband access to the Internet. The Post Office Department, as its most important activity, has the enhancement of the market for postal services. In this direction, they have called for a public debate on the review of the strategy for postal service market development in Croatia and the action plan for the implementation of the strategy. The department cooperates with the International Postal Union in that regard, and often publishes public calls and notices on the union of the ministry, by which it allows all stakeholders to engage in these competitions. The Ministry has an available map continuously on its website of all the roads in the country, timetable for all models of transport, road, rail, air and water, as well as a list of all the places where they are to pay tolls. Priorities on the way towards European Union in the field of transport: construction of Pan-European Corridor. High-level group for transport identifies 5 main axes and determines the number of projects that are classified into 2 groups projects and will begin to be implemented before 2010 and projects with long-term interest until 2020. High-level group highlighted the need for further studies and analyses which relate to the technical specification of their environmental impact and financial mechanisms needed to implement the projects. Priority access projects identified by the high-level group for Macedonia for the implementation by 2010 were provided. Construction of the border crossing highway with Albania Skopje, border with Bulgaria. Rehabilitation of the railway line Banovce-Gevgelija Phase 1. The railway line Kumanovo-Beljakovce, border with Bulgaria. The railway line Kičevo-Struga, border with Albania. For the implementation after 2010, rehabilitation of the railway line Tabanovce-Gevgelija Phase 2, project with regional significance and national priority, construction of multimodal terminal located in Struga. In the medium-term priorities is included the construction of the section Veles-Prilep. The section Veles-Prilep represents a strategic relation of the Republic of Macedonia by which the highway that passes through the central part of the Republic will be completed, and it is of primary importance for development. The section is apart from the European Corridor 10D, and it is a connection of particular importance for the transport of the whole region towards the Central and Western Europe. Within the programming of CETO, proposed routes that enter in the medium-term priorities are the routes: upgrading the section at highway level Bitola, Resen, Ohrid, Ponmolje, and construction of the highway Otovica, Štip, Delčevo. Key strategic documents for the development of the Trans-European axis passing through the territory of the Republic of Macedonia. Public Investment Program 2006-2008. Memorandum of Understanding on the Development of the CEE Cork Regional Transport Network of the Southeast Europe. Status signed in June 2004. The realization happens through the high-level group of the EC for Transport and CETO, Southeast Europe Transport Observatory. Final report on the high-level group of EC of Transport of the Trans-European Transport Access to the neighboring countries and regions. 5-year plan of CETO 2007-2011. Study for the development of the transport network in the Western Balkans from JBEC. Relevant EU-funded projects relating to the transport sector development and trans-European access passing through the territory of the Republic of Macedonia. Upgrading of the road E75, section border Bogorodica to Gevgelija, 4.6 kilometers. Construction and reconstruction of the border crossing point Bogorodica. Construction and reconstruction of border crossing point Medjugorje. Development of a major project to upgrade the road E75 Demirkapia Udovo Gevgelija, 44.3 kilometers. Upgrading of the road E75 section Negotino Demirkapia Phase 1, 5.3 kilometers. Construction of the highway E75 section Negotino Demirkapia Phase 2, 2.3 kilometers. Construction of the highway E75 section Negotino Demirkapia Phase 3. The Ministry of Transport and Communications has received technical assistance from the European Union for preparation of a national transport strategy, preparation of investment plan for the roads, preparation of study on the reconstruction of the road sector in the Republic of Macedonia. Participation in the preparation for using the instruments of the European Commission for Pre-Accession Assistance, IPA. The instrument for pre-accession assistance of the European Union started with application from 1st of January 2007 following the timeline frame of the new financial perspective of the European Union, 2007-2013. The new IPA instrument is introduced in order to facilitate the management of the assistance from the European Union. However, it does not mean that all beneficiary countries will have the same treatment. The differentiation is provided with a different approach for different category of countries to the components of IPA, potential candidates and candidates for membership. The structure of the new IPA is shown in the chart as follows. Schematic representation of the structure of the IPA instrument. First, transition assistance and institution building. Second, cross-border and regional cooperation. Third, regional development. Fourth, human resources development. And 5, rural development. The Ministry of Transport and Communications is involved in the preparation and additional implementation of the components 1, 2, and 3. Considering that the component 3, regional development, as emphasis is placed on the development of infrastructure projects with the conclusion of the government, a senior program officer was appointed by the Ministry of Transport and Communications sector of the European Union, by which the ministry is responsible coordinator of this component. According to the multi-planning document, within the component 3, regional development, an emphasis is placed on infrastructure projects aimed at full traffic connection of the Republic of Macedonia with the Trans-European networks. Common determination is the finalization of the Corridor 10, financing the construction of the sections of the highway Demirkapia-Udovo and Udovo-Smokvica, modernization of the railway line Tabanovce-Gevgelija, and completion of the project documentation for Corridor 8. The biggest part of the funds from this component will be designed for development of the transport infrastructure due to a greater willingness to absorb the funds. For this component, in the course are activities to prepare the strategic coherence framework and operational program. Corridor 8. The Ministry of Transport and Communications actively participates in the work of the Technical Secretariat for Corridor 8, as well as in the working groups on its context. The main goal of this secretariat is developing the road and railway infrastructure along the Corridor 8, for what purpose a series of studies and pre-feasibility studies have been developed and are in the course of making. The promotion of the Pan-European Corridor 8 in the European Union funds and international financial institutions is one of the efforts of the Technical Secretariat. In order to provide funds for the construction of the railway network of Corridor 8, the Republic of Macedonia is part of a regional initiative to lobby in front of the institutions of the European Union in order to provide funds for the construction and modernization of the Corridor 8. Also in this regional initiative were included Republic of Bulgaria and Republic of Albania, in order to lobby for receiving a coordinator from the European Union who will be in charge of this corridor. Corridor 10. The most important activity when it comes to the Corridor 10 is the implementation of the Protocol on Cooperation on Border Crossing along the countries of the Pan-European Corridor 10, which was signed in June 2006 in Corfu, and which has a main goal to facilitate the flow of people and goods along the Corridor 10. Signatories for short or medium term need to realize harmonize of the legislation and procedures for border crossing with the European Union acquis, the constant exchange of information between the relevant authorities and agencies, especially with the electronic media, in order to achieve closer cooperation and increased efficiency. The recommendation is to create contact points in each country, which will be in charge of this task. The formation of a working group is in progress. First chair is the Republic of Greece. Also, through the Greek plan for reconstruction of the Balkans, a donation is expected from the Greek government to finance the missing section of the Corridor 10, Demirkapia-Smokvica, which represents an advantage for the European Union during the allocation of the IPA funds, as well increase of the same in the upcoming period. According to the adopted action plan, it is expected signing of the contract with construction works and commencement of the implementation during 2008. Other activities for development and construction of the transport infrastructure in the Republic of Macedonia. In 2014, the Republic of Macedonia is committed and focused on the construction of new highways, new railways, and reconstruction and modernization of the old, along the pan-European transport corridors which are passing through our country. The state implements these important projects in cooperation with the major international financial institutions like the World Bank, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, European Investment Bank, the European Union through the IPA, and the Export-Import Bank of China. The construction of two extremely important highways in Macedonia has started in cooperation with the Export-Import Bank of China. The issue is about highways which are linking the capital city of Skopje with the city Štip in eastern part of the country and Kičevo with Ohrid, the most important tourist destination in Republic of Macedonia in the western part of the state. All these sections are part of the Pan-European Transport Corridor 8, which is crucial for the economic development of the region, including Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Albania. The construction of a new motorway section in eastern Macedonia has already begun. The motorway from Skopje to Štip is 47 kilometers long and represents an investment of 208 million euros. The funds are provided by the Exim Bank. The construction is expected to be completed in 2017. Besides the project, the construction of another very important new motorway section from Kičevo to Ohrid is the western part of Macedonia is in progress. This motorway is 57 kilometers long and has a value of 374 million euros. The funds are provided by the Exim Bank. It is planned to finish the construction of the motorway in 2016. The construction of these sections of the highway means further expansion of overall national motorway network, resulting in faster flow of vehicles, but at the same time raising the level of the quality of transport services, and certainly one of the goals is to meet the needs of all tourists transiting in this area. Regarding the part of the new highway construction in Macedonia, it is worked on the final completion of the Corridor 10 on highway level from the entry to the exit of the country. This is the part from Demirkapia to Smokvica in the southern part of the country. The highway section has a length of 28 kilometers. This project is worth about 210 million euros and the construction activities are already half completed. The funds for this part are provided by the EBRD, APE and the European Union pre-accession funds. The aim of the Republic of Macedonia is the construction of highways of two more major sections, one along the Corridor 10 and one along the Corridor 8. The first road is from capital Skopje to Blace-Kosovo border, with a length of 12.4 kilometers and has an estimated value of 70 million euros. The second section is from Gostivor to Kičevo and it's part from the Corridor 8. This section is designed to be added to the existing highway from Skopje to Kičevo as well as to the section from Kičevo to Ohrid, which is expected to be completed in 2016. This road is 42 kilometers long and has an estimated value of 276 million euros. The project envisaged construction, maintenance and toll collection on these parts. State authorities plan to announce a public call for the concession of the road direction at the beginning of 2015. In terms of the local infrastructure, it is worked on construction of local roads and this project the state realizes in cooperation with the World Bank. In terms of this policy, in the following 2015, it is planned to build 180 local roads with a total length of 200 kilometers. Besides, there is planned a construction of 5 new express roads, by which the internal road network will be enhanced and the traffic flow will be improved to and from the main directions of the Corridor 8. Besides the improvement of the road infrastructure, the state is planning policies and measures for even more efficient transport, such as the construction of logistics centers at the border crossing and bigger cities through public-private partnership, the implementation of intelligent transport system on the road to monitor the road conditions, for which a design is in progress and the construction should begin in 2016. Regarding the railway connection, they are working on the last link to the Bulgarian border, which is from Kriva Palanka to Devi Bayır with length of 24 kilometers, and the estimated value is 330 million euros. Recently is announced a call for selection of consultant which should design the section of a period of 22 months. Also, activities are undertaken as well for the completion of the railway line from Kičevo to Lin, in the border with Albania, with a length of 70 kilometers. The estimated value for this line is 570 million euros. The activities for the design of this section had started, and it is expected to be completed in around 2 years' time. Summary. Based on the information provided and the manners of which the department dealing with issues of transport and communications function, the following general conclusions can be drawn. There is no established system of internal organization of the work of the mentioned departments in the member states of the Union. In contrast, through the prism of positioning of the Macedonian Ministry of Transport and Communications, may be perceived a new quality in the work of this important department, which is part from the executive power in the Republic of Macedonia. A difference can be noticed in the activities of the ministries of the European Union, old member states and new member states of the Union. In addition to the first one, a greater emphasis on the program that protects the environment and raises the public awareness about pollution is noticed in spite of the most infrastructure projects in the newer members of the European Union. The Republic of Macedonia has a friendly approach towards a mutual cooperation and progress of the region, in order to reach the European values and fulfillment of the vision to full membership in the European Union. The preparation of a medium-term strategies for all areas that are covered by the Ministry is in order to define the objectives and activities which should be taken in the specific areas. It is desirable to make these strategies for a longer period of several years. Introduction of systems for safer traffic on the roads with locating and neutralizing of the dangerous places on the road arteries. Promotion of the rail transport as cheaper and less damaging form of transport for the environment. In the coming crucial period for our country, in which a receiving of the date to start negotiations about full membership is expected, the Republic of Macedonia should put all potentials to engage all social capacities to achieve our common goal. In this regard, the Ministry of Transport and Communications should include all the resources to complete the ongoing reforms in several areas, as well as for harmonization of the Macedonian legislation with the one of the European Union, because only with mutual efforts of all social factors and dedication of all citizens, the strategic goal of Macedonia, membership in the European Union and NATO, can be achieved. It is recommended a consistent harmonization of the legislation of the Republic of Macedonia with the legal legislation of the relevant field in the European Union and continuous monitoring of new developmental activities in the member states. It is recommended to continue and intensify the cooperation with the Directorate General for Regional Policy and expansion in cooperation with DG Transport and Energy.